ministers are acting like all other Canadians in examining their own pocketbooks. That was your quote. Do you believe that Canadians have examined their pocketbooks and have decided that they can spend more the way you have? Is that really what you're thinking? That they are examining their pocketbooks and are making the decision to spend more and can spend more as you are? I don't think they are. What would you like to tell Canadians on that, please?
Hey gang, what's up? Just Aaron back with another crazy committee video, guys. These ones, they don't slow down. These Canadian federal politics, man, it never slows down. It's so crazy. Today, we've got Stephanie KUSIE versus President of the Treasury Board, ANITA ANAND. She's a difficult witness, doesn't have the answers to the questions. It's unreasonable as a Canadian watching for her not to have these answers, but she doesn't. Let's take a peek. Stephanie KUSIE is a firecracker. Let's take a peek.
Let's start with Mrs. KUSIE, please, for 6 minutes.
When you tabled the main estimates, you stated your governance ministers are acting like all other Canadians in examining their own pocketbooks. That was your quote. Do you believe that Canadians have examined their pocketbooks and have decided that they can spend more the way you have? Is that really what you're thinking? That they are examining their pocketbooks and are making the decision to spend more and can spend more as you are? I don't think they are. What would you like to tell Canadians on that, please?
Well, Mr. Chair, I do appreciate the question, and the intention of that point was to say that this is a time where we need to be prudent with our spending, and at the Treasury Board of Canada, our role is to oversee government spending and to ensure that we undertake a risk analysis at all times of that spending.
Thank you.
And
being
so
prudent
when
with
we
your
table
spending,
the main
Minister,
estimates, that is the goal.
How do you think the younger generation looks right now at you and your government with a $39.8 billion deficit in the current budget? Do you really think they believe that you are being prudent with a $39.8 billion deficit that not only this generation, but the next generation is going to have to pay off? Do you really think that's being prudent, Minister?
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, we have the lowest debt to GDP ratio in the G7 and a AAA credit rating. And at the same time, we are maintaining that fiscal prudent track, and we are also providing supports to Canadians through dental care, through pharmacare, contraception for women so that they can make their own choices about their
Canadians,
bodies.
when they're
Mr.
standing
Chair.
in line at the food
And-
bank, don't care about the debt to GDP ratio. They don't care about that. They just care that their tummies are empty and that they want food on the table to feed their families.
Unlike the Conservative government
Minister,
before
the
us.
government is currently
Mr.
spending
Chair,
more
point
on debt
of order.
servicing costs than they
Sorry,
are in health
point of
transfer
order.
payments.
Sorry,
I'm
Mr.
just trying to-
KUSIE, Minister, sorry, there's a point of order. I'll stop the
Sorry.
clock. Mr.
I'm trying to respond to
Kuzmirchuk?
the question.
Mr. Chair, I just want us to take into consideration our translators and the
I
fact
will,
that
that's not a point of order, but I will
point
let
of
you
order.
know.
It
No.
is a point of order.
Sorry, Mr.
because,
Kuzmirchuk, when
Mr. Chair,
the translators have an issue, they'll advise the clerk, and the clerk will advise me, and we will interrupt. I appreciate your point.
I'm just worried about their health and
you.
well-being, and I
I've
see
ruled Mr.
and I see the
Kuzmirchuk, we're
MP
gonna go back
raising.
to-
I see my MP colleague raising her voice,
Okay.
and I'm just simply
Okay,
asking that we
I've
respect
ruled
the
Mr.
translators.
Kuzmirchuk. I appreciate what we're trying to
Okay.
do. I've made it very clear. I made it clear to one of your colleagues earlier. I appreciate we don't continue in
Thank you.
interruptions.
I appreciate you
Mrs.
taking that into
KUSIE will
consideration.
continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister, in the main estimates, it stated $46.5 billion was required simply to service our debt. This is in addition to this year's $39.8 billion deficit. Now, in the supplementary estimates, you have come back and asked for another $1.9 billion, as though this $1.9 billion was an oversight to service the national debt. Why were these numbers not properly accounted for in your main estimates just a few months ago? And what can we as Canadians expect in the future in terms of further amounts that have not been accounted for as a result of your bad accounting?
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, on the issue of poverty, our government, unlike the Conservative government prior to us, we've reduced poverty in this country by 22%. On the issue of the debt, I will say that our government has made a decision to ensure that we have strong fiscal markers like a AAA credit rating, like the lowest debt to GDP ratio in the G7, while supporting Canadians, while ensuring that we have affordable housing supports in place, while ensuring that we have dental care available for our population
Then, Minister,
and pharmacare
why
as
are
well,
1 in
Mr.
4
Chair.
Canadians skipping meals? Again, the 1 in 4 Canadians that are skipping meals really don't take comfort in these statistics that you are saying here today or in the House of Commons when you are responding in question period. Minister, in your last announcement on fraud, as a result of the Arrive scam scandal, with the Canadian procurement system, you stated that the 3 individuals you found committing $5 million worth of fraud in contracting were only the first tranche of individuals. Are you ready today to tell Canadians the number of individuals who you have determined to be committing fraud and you have now turned over to the RCMP? Can you give that number, please?
That issue is within PSPC, but I will say that all fraud is unacceptable and that the RCMP has charge over those cases. And if it determines to lay charges, we will be supporting the RCMP in every investigation it undertakes, just as we have done in the past.
So you don't have a number for us today.
It is not within my purview.
Can you tell us the total? It is within your purview, and especially given that you were previously the Minister of Procurement, you should have an idea as to these numbers. If you can't tell us how many individuals have been turned over to the RCMP as a result of fraud, can you at least please tell Canadians how much they have been scammed out of, how much fraudulent money has been paid out as a result of
Actually,
of this
Mr.
fraud?
Chair, 3 individuals, to my knowledge, have been turned over to the RCMP. And secondly, Mr. Chair, what I am doing at Treasury Board, and this is within my purview actually, is to ensure that we have the policies and the governance in place to ensure that we have better management control over these types of incidents.
My last question
I released
is,
a new manager
you said
guide
at the
with
last meeting
mandatory
that you would have
obligations on
that
directors.
you would recruit the money from the Arrive scam scandal. Can you report to Canadians that you have gotten that $60 million back for the Arrive scam
I can
scandal?
report to Canadians that as soon as the RCMP report comes back on the Arrive can issue,
So that's
we
a
will
no.
follow
You
the
promised the last time I saw you
Chair,
that you would
point
get
of-
the
point
money
of
back
order.
for
I mean,
Canadians.
this is-
That's what you said, and you are coming
Excuse
to
me,
Canadians.
Mr. Chair,
to say
am I
that.
able to
Sorry, let me
respond
interrupt. We have
to
another
that
point of
witness's
order.
question?
Sorry, we have a point of order from Mr. Kuzmierczak. We have to attend. Go ahead, Mr.
Mr. Chair, I'm just
Kuzmierczak.
asking my colleagues to please respect, again, our interpreters
Hey,
and
Mr.
their health and
Kuzmierczak,
safety.
if you're
This
gonna,
is
I've made
important.
it clear, and I appreciate what you're trying to do,
This-
but I've made it clear that if there's an issue with the interpreters, they will contact our clerk.
Okay.
I would ask you to please stop your interruptions.
It's not an interruption.
It
I'm
is,
actually
Mr.
looking
Kuzmierczak,
after the
and if you're gonna
interpreters
continue
on
this,
committee. Mr.
time
Chair-
will be taken
Mr.
away from
Chair,
others.
if
I've
you
made
won't
my
look after
ruling
it,
very
I
clearly.
certainly will.
Mr. Kuzmierczak, please. I've stated before, and I've told one of your colleagues before this,
Okay.
if there's an issue, they will advise the clerk the proper way. They will not advise you, they will not advise your other members, they'll advise the clerk. So I ask you, please stop with such interruptions. Mrs. Kusie, Minister, I understand,
respond? Can I
I understand,
respond at
Mrs.
all,
Kusie
ever,
and
here?
Minister, I understand what you're saying. If you please allow a question and an answer, you have 40 seconds, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So can you tell Canadians today, clearly, as you promised them the last time that we spoke in a committee environment, that you have recouped the $60+ million because, as the Auditor General indicated, it is a minimum of $60 million. You have recouped those funds for Canadians as you promised you would.
Mr. Speaker, there is an ongoing investigation. Any wrongdoing will be taken into account. I stand by my comments that the government will seek to recover taxpayers' money that was spent
That's a no, Mr. Chair.
inappropriately.
That's
We
clearly a
are
no.
waiting for the RCMP investigation to conclude.
That's a no.
Thank you
It
very
is
much,
not a no.
Mr.
That is, we are waiting for the RCMP
Thank
investigation
you,
to
Minister. We're going to go
conclude,
to
Mr.
Mr. Baines.
Chair.
I'm sure you'll have an
Thank you.
opportunity to answer during Mr. Baines this time. Go ahead, Mr. Baines.
So, gang, that's another wild one right there. I'm not gonna try to tell you what to think about what you just saw. You're a Canadian, you can make up your own mind. But I do want you to come back and watch some more of the wild videos that we collect. We've got this network happening now. And also, if you're interested in a live chat in a fun stream, we watch the question periods daily, all of them. It's a great community. It's a fun chat. Come check us out. Like, subscribe, get notified, all that fun stuff. Comment. I love the comments. And especially just come back. I just want you to come back. Not going to try to sell you anything. Here we go. We're just learning about Canadian federal politics right here at Question Period Canada. We have a million questions, almost no answers, but we'll be showing you the videos. So like, subscribe, get notified, share, all those fun things. Check out one of the other videos. We've got a good thing going on here, liking and learning, and sharing with you. That's what we're doing right here. Question Period Canada. Catch you next video. It'll be wacky.